I recall is having a huge argument in the beginning of my marriage because my husband didn't have an answer for me and I wanted one right away. We expect that our men will respond to problems the same way as we do. Typically, men will retreat to a man cave of some sort, maybe think about the issue, or more so, think about the solution. While women, we go to other women and we talk it out. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Before You Do with Verlyn. I am your host and favorite premarital coach, Verlyn Tarlton. Today's topic is stop expecting men to be women. Let's get into it. Ladies, do you know there's a certain amount of frustration men experience when they are expected to act and respond like women? And what I find most interesting is when they do certain things like admit a weakness or they become vulnerable or have a breakdown of some sort, then we say, hey, man up, right? Stop acting like a girl. We hear all these different cliches. But when it comes to paying bills, defending us, defending our home, then we call on Superman. We don't want them looking at us in the middle of the night saying, hey, did you hear that noise? Can you go check it out? We can't have it both ways. So then what do I mean when I say we have to stop expecting our men to be women? What I mean is this: we have to stop expecting our men to respond the way we do, right? We're not the same. Men think differently and they move differently. And that's what makes us a perfect fit with each other. Men and women being different is very similar to a picture puzzle. You have all these different shapes, different shaped pieces, and you sort through them and you put the pieces together. And then once the pieces all together, you make this perfect picture that match whatever it was on the box. Okay, if you put together a horse or some trees, you're looking at a pattern, you're finding all these different pieces, and then you're matching it up so it can look like the picture on the box. Okay, so the different pieces snap or they fit together. And that is so that the puzzle stays in place. Suppose all the pieces were perfect squares, just alike. You can lay them down all together and you can form the picture, but the question is, would they stay connected? If you hit the table, oftentimes like I've done, or there's any type of impact, will the pieces stay locked in? The pieces will separate, right? The picture would not stay together because the pieces did not fit in snug. That's the way it's supposed to be. As men and women, we are different so that we fit together and we stay locked in. Okay? That's something we have to really think about. Our men should not be expected to do what we do the same way we do it, how we do it. Our men should be expected to be men so that we complement each other. Compatibility in terms of core values and our men being like us are two different things. We should be compatible, but that doesn't mean we should be just alike. Ladies, we may like the idea of our men being our best friend, and I can get with that. However, our men are men. They are not our girlfriend. We cannot treat them like light switches that flick on and off. Okay, be a man today. Okay, now I want you to be like a woman. Oh, goodness, here comes trouble. Be a man. We don't want our men to be schizophrenic. Okay, so we can't flick them on and off and on and off. I remember it's been quite a few years. Steve Harvey wrote this book. I never read it, but I know it was a New York Times bestseller. And the title was something like Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man, or Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, something like that. And while I kind of understood where he was going with it, I think his premise was for us to be ladies or act like it, but to try to understand how men think. So years ago when this came out, I did not understand that. But now I get where he was going. He was saying, be a lady, but try, and I'm paraphrasing, I have never talked to him, but what I am thinking, he was trying to say, hey, ladies, you need to understand how men think. And I totally agree with that. And then I thought about it. I said, suppose someone wrote a book and it was written for men and it said, act like a man, but think like a woman. I don't know. Maybe some women want their men to act like a woman and think like a woman. And if that's the case, that definitely is not a good thing. We need to understand that our men think differently, they are wired differently. We should embrace respect and cherish this. The differences bring the balance, not opposition. Our men being different should not be a point of contention. As a matter of fact, the differences should complement each other. Just like those puzzle pieces I talked about, they're very different in terms of how they're shaped, but when they come together, they complement each other and they create a very beautiful picture. Here's another example. In my experience, I've learned men are more visual, right? They're stimulated by what they see, while most women are stimulated by what we hear, which is why conversation is major for us, not so much for men. I promise you, they do not want to talk for hours and hours about the same thing. Let me say that again. Men do not want to talk for hours and hours about the same thing. All right. They usually want us to get to the point, and we typically want to belabor the point because we want to make sure that they're understanding what we're saying. I know that's how I used to think, right? Again, that's because we're different. Is it right or wrong? No, it is different. Maybe this is just in my marriage and my relationship, but when my husband and I go out to dinner, for me, it's like this is connect time. Let's talk, let's relax. I'm about eating and talking. My husband, not so much. He's usually focused on eating. He wants to enjoy his meal and he wants to have limited conversation. On the other hand, what I've learned is when we sit together in the car and instead of facing each other, we're parallel, he can have good conversation. And it could be because we're moving, there's motion, he's doing something else. I understand that we think differently in terms of having conversation. He likes to do it when we're sitting parallel. And I've heard this with other wives I've talked to that they have some of the best conversations driving in a car for some reason. Again, this is not good or bad, it's just a difference. My husband is the same way. If we sit on the porch and we're facing the front yard, we have good conversation. When my husband's eating, he just wants to eat, he doesn't want to talk. I want to talk. Well, guess what? I have learned that it's not just about what I want, it's not about how I want him to be. I have to respect that he is different, just like he respects that I am different. When we respect each other's differences, it's a lot smoother. When respect is present, we can move along and we can fit together without the unnecessary conflict. I've learned to embrace our differences. It makes the relationship much more peaceful and it makes us, or it helps us be free to be who we are without the expectation of being like the other person. One of the things I recall is having a huge argument in the beginning of my marriage because my husband didn't have an answer for me and I wanted one, right? I wanted it right away. We expect that our men will respond to problems the same way as we do. Typically, men will retreat to a man cave of some sort, maybe think about the issue, or more so, think about the solution. While women, we go to other women and we talk it out and we work it out and we express ourselves. Men don't respond like women. We have to give them time to think, we have to give them time to process, and to come to us when they are ready instead of always going there, what's wrong? How you doing? Why are you so quiet? Why don't you talk to me about it? Please share. That can just add more stress because that's not how they process. They don't process by having to sit and talk it out and talk it out. I think what happens is sometimes we take that quiet personally and we think it's against us. Well, they don't want to talk to me about their problems. I want to be there for them. It's not that. It really is a man thing. And We want to probe and we want to question. And then it turns into nagging. All right. So then, on top of him trying to figure out the solution and process, now he's having to go to war with us because we want him to talk to us right now. Tell me what's going on. Ladies, we have to let the man be a man. That means we need to just step back. All right. Appreciate that and truly understand his process is different from ours. And you can help him get through that. How do you do that? Give him space. Okay. If he's working on a stressful project and he's not in the best moods, take him a sandwich, take him a glass of water, a glass of juice, and just leave it. Let him have the space and time to process. Don't try to strike up a conversation. Don't start asking a lot of questions. Just leave it. Try to be there in a way that you don't have to just be there, right? There are times when my husband is outside and he's doing something that goes wrong. My first inclination is to go out and say, "What's wrong? You doing all right?" Et cetera, et cetera. First thing my husband will say, "Look, I'll figure it out. Just leave me alone. Let me figure it out." Well, I don't take it personally anymore. He doesn't want to say what just happened because I'm not going to be able to help him anyway, right? But he understands this broke, this fell off, this doesn't work. He's a little frustrated. And so I know to back off. I go back in the house and let him focus on the solution. I leave him alone. And then sometimes I'll bring him a glass of ice water. Why? Because I know that's something he appreciates. I leave the water, I go back in the house or run my errands or whatever because I understand that he has to process things. I may want to talk about it. He wants to be about it, right? So I leave him alone. I don't take it personally anymore. And life is a lot smoother because I just let him be who he is. And you know what happens? Typically in a few hours, maybe the next day, when he's ready, he'll come and tell me, "You know what? This happened, but I fixed it. This broke off, but I fixed it." Or he'll say, "This is going on. I have to go here. I've got to replace this particular thing." So eventually he'll come to me with a plan or a solution, but that's because I just leave him alone and let him figure it out. I know now if I try to push him to explain what he's doing, what he's thinking, it's not going to turn out good. I stop expecting my man to act like me. We need to let men be who they are. The masculine and the feminine balance each other, and that's what we want. I did a podcast a while ago about women needing a sister circle. You need a lady, and this is my opinion, but it has worked. You need a lady who's younger, and that's the lady you can mentor, you can pour into, you can show her things in life, things that you have learned. And then you need a lady who's your equal, maybe your same age, and you're parallel. You parallel each other, you relate to each other, and then you need that third woman who's an older, a seasoned lady. She's wise. She can mentor and pour into you. And what I have learned, if you have a strong sister circle, you won't have a problem with wanting your man to be in your sister circle or wanting your man to be your sister or your girlfriend. Your sister circle or your sisterhood is what's needed to complete you as a woman. When you have that sister circle, you don't need your man to be in it. That can be very draining. When we want to pull our men to be a part of our sister circle, let me say it again, that can be very draining. All right. Men function much better when they're men and they're appreciated for it. In the same way, when you're free or when we are free as women, we function much better. We show up much better. When we can be authentically women, it works. Well, our men want that same authenticity. Another way, and I've seen this is very common, that women want men to act like women is in the area of sensitivity. I'm not saying that men should be cold and insensitive and just say whatever. What I'm saying is we should not expect them to respond or react the way we do. Okay. Recently, there's a situation, this young lady, and she was going through some boy trouble, right? And she was crying, a little upset. The mom was very nurturing and comforting and all of that. It's okay. We're here for you. We love you. The dad was like, good. I'm glad he's gone. And the brother was like, do you think he's sitting around thinking about you? And it's funny because the mom, of course, she was one way, nurturing and caring. And the father was another way, like, okay, good. We're all glad he's gone. It brought balance. It gave the daughter a dose of nurture and reality. It gave her comfort and a bit of tough love. And that's the balance. That's the feminine and the masculine energy that's needed, whether you have children or not. Years ago, there was a movie called The Jacksons, The American Dream, something like that. It was about the Jackson Five family, and it was actually one of my favorite movies. So there was a scene where Jackie was getting bullied in the neighborhood. Okay, and so Catherine, the mom, forbid the boys to fight. She never wanted her sons fighting in the street, and that's understandable. But Joe Jackson, he was just the opposite. So this bully was messing with Jackie. They were walking home, and so one of the boys, I think Michael Jackson, went and got him. He was like, Joe, they're beating up Jackie or whatever. So Joe came out and he was like, oh, y'all want to fight? He got some gloves. He said, let's do it right. And the mother was like, no, my boys don't fight. And so the bully did something and he knocked Jackie down. So the mother was going ballistic. Joe picked him up, whispered something about, if you don't deal with him, you have to deal with me. And he shoved him back into the fight. And the mom was screaming, my boys don't fight. And it was just a big thing. And so Jackie knocked the bully out. And then everybody cheered for him. And then he got up and he was so excited. He was like, it worked. It worked. He told me not to be afraid of anybody. And it worked just like you said. Like his confidence was boosted. And it was because his dad was a dad. His dad was a man. His dad wasn't acting like his mom. His dad was pushing him to get in there and fight, where the mom was saying, my boys don't fight. My boys don't fight. But it gave him the confidence he needed. And of course, you have your opinions or whatever, but the bottom line is the balance is needed. We cannot expect the man to act like a woman. Another show, The Cosby Show, was on, and I remember Vanessa was playing the spin the bottle game or whatever, and she got drunk. And so the parent called and told Claire, hey, all the girls were here, bored, they were drinking, et cetera, et cetera. And so Claire, she gets off the phone and she says, Vanessa and her friends were playing the spin the bottle game or something, and Vanessa got drunk. The first thing Cliff said was, she must have lost. And it was funny, because Claire was more concerned about the fact that Vanessa got drunk. Cliff was more concerned about the fact that she lost. And so, again, it's not a right, it's not a wrong. It's just a difference in how men process and respond. And although this is TV, I think the examples are very fitting on how men and women respond. Now, let me clarify. I am not saying that we should just accept whatever and that core values are not aligned. No. When it comes to your core values, your beliefs, then of course you should be alike. You both should expect integrity. You both should be trustworthy. You both should believe in honesty. So we're not talking about those type of character traits. Those core values should be aligned. We're talking about the regular way men and women function and move in life. Okay. So that's not to say that as women, we expect our men to have our core values and act like us and act like our girlfriends. No, that is what our sister circle is for. Ladies, there's so many other things our men struggle with in the world. Let's not be another place where he has to come and struggle with being who he is. Here are two things you can consider, or two choices. We have within our power where we can try to make our men act like us, respond like us when it's convenient. We can take ourselves and our men through these unnecessary changes that only lead to disconnect, discord, and disharmony. Or we can embrace our men being men, letting them or allowing them or giving them the grace, whatever you want to say, to be who they are in their masculine ways, think the way they think, respond the way they respond, and we can experience the peace, protection that's priceless. And just like a puzzle, we can form a perfect, beautiful picture that stays locked in. So think about that. The next time your husband, your fiance, the man you're dating, responds in his natural way, don't try to fit him into a place where he does not fit. Let him be who he is. You be who you are, so that again, when you come together, you can be snug, and you can stay locked in. Okay? Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comment or your question. You can visit my website at verlyntarlton.com. That's VerlynTarlton.com. Until next week, may you experience extraordinary love. Bye for now.